President of the United States has just fired the person in charge of election security.
Uh-oh. It's still doing it, isn't it? Yeah. I'm still getting alerts for drop frames. Oh, nope. Now it's 0 drop frames. Okay, cool. All right, dope. All right. Now that this is actually working properly, I have no idea why that happened, but let's look at some headlines. So here's one. This was the head of the Department of Homeland Security that was fired, or rather, not the head, but an official from the Department of Homeland Security that was fired because Trump didn't like the fact that he wasn't repeating the lie that the election was rigged or that there was voter fraud. This particular official had apparently made a statement that, oh my goodness. This official had apparently made a statement that they, thought that the election was secure. So let's just listen to this.
The President of the United States has just fired the person in charge of election security who issued the statement saying these are the most secure elections in American history, saying he's firing him because he doesn't like what he said and that everything he said is wrong just because Trump is saying so.
Yeah, the president is making very clear here. He's not even trying to tiptoe around the fact that he is firing this official because he is contradicting the president's baseless conspiracy theories that the president has been spreading around to try and legitimize his election laws, to try and vindicate himself. The president making very clear that this election, in his view, has been rigged and has been riddled with voter fraud, and that is exactly what Christopher Krebs, the head of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, has said did not happen. He has said this was the most secure election in history. He has also swatted down the president's conspiracy theory about this Dominion voting software machine, saying that there is no evidence, as the president has suggested, that any of this software had deleted votes or attributed votes to another candidate, despite what the president has said here. So this is something that Christopher Krebs and his team knew was coming. He had been very aware in the days leading up to this that he expected to likely be fired by the President of the United States, and obviously it is happening in the same fashion that we have seen with so many other officials firing via tweet.
You know, it is stunning, Jeremy, that he's doing this, right? I mean, it's every single thing in here is counterfactual. To the extent that anything would have impacted this election, which he lost resoundingly, 306 electoral college votes. It was a resounding win when Trump won it in 2016. It's a resounding win for Biden.
Right.
Now. Is there?
It's still very scary that more people voted for Trump than Obama.
Who's even in the room with him, or is he just in there doing this stuff? Just going on Twitter, fires the defense secretary. Going on Twitter a few days later, fires the guy who's in charge of election integrity in this country. He's just in there like crazy tweeting.
Well, he's certainly still in touch with officials. I mean, there are still folks at the White House who are around him, but we've learned that he's been spending most of his mornings at the White House, inside the residence of the White House, watching TV, heading to the Oval Office much later than he usually does. So he is certainly spending more time alone processing all of this. And the other thing to point out is there are different views in the president's ear, as there are so often. Right now, you're at a point where Rudy Giuliani, the former New York City mayor, is telling the president that he has a shot here, screaming at Trump campaign attorneys late last week, and telling them that they are liars for telling the president that his legal battles here are a long shot in terms of overturning the results of the election.
Yikes.
And then on the other hand, you have other folks telling the president it's time to start acknowledging reality. So there's no question that he's hearing a lot of different things right now, and there are obviously still those voices encouraging the president to go deeper and deeper into this conspiracy theory territory, and some of the members of the president's legal team right now are pushing that very same narrative, including Sidney Powell, an attorney who's working with the president, who's pushed all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories, including stating that the CIA has been involved in altering votes in this election, which is, of course, not true, completely unfounded.
Wow. Hold on, stop. I gotta stop. Hold on. The fact that they think that, so that's like straight up state propaganda right there. The CIA interferes in elections all around the world. The CIA has interfered in elections, especially in South America, but just like other governments try to influence our elections, the CIA and our government tries its damnedest to influence elections in other countries. So that's like straight up like pure manufacturing consent. Like they, yeah.
And
I had to
that's
say
what we're
that.
seeing with this firing of Christopher Krebs as he continues to deny reality. Aaron.
All right, thank you very much. I hope none of these people ever have to spend time in places in the world where these kind of conspiracy theories actually get traction, and you live in the kinds of governments that create that. Phil Mudd
The
joins me on
government,
phone.
yo,
So,
those are the governments
Phil,
that the United States props
obviously,
up.
former counterterror official and at the
Bolivia.
CIA, our analyst. So, Phil, your reaction here? The president has now gone on Twitter and fired the guy who came out, who ran the said this is the most secure election in American history. Right, with the backing of the full United States government. The president has fired this guy. There he is, Christopher Krebs, putting out a whole bunch of lies. I don't even want to keep repeating them.
They put that thing
but-
right over
but
his face, too.
lies,
There he
saying
goes.
that,
That's funny.
The election was taken from him.
Yeah, there's a couple of reactions. There's a personal piece as someone who served in government for a couple decades, and that piece is, firing people on Twitter. I don't want to belabor this, Aaron, but firing people on Twitter. Remember, for James Comey, the FBI director, the president couldn't fire him in person. He sent over one of his
Firing people by Twitter is wild, yo. That's such a wild move.
The more serious question is, look, we're about 2 months, maybe a little more than 2 months to the inauguration. In between there, we have two major vacation periods. We've got Thanksgiving, we've got Christmas. This is not about taking someone out of a position and putting in someone who's more loyal. As a president who's about to leave his position, you don't have time to do that. You've got less than 2 months if you take out the vacation time. This is about spite. I'm angry. I don't have that much time left. So the people who didn't support me, they're gone. Whether it's at Defense, at CIA, at FBI.
Yeah, that much is obvious.
It's not about policy, and it's certainly not about replacing somebody with a person who's more loyal, because you just don't have time to do that.
No, you don't. All right, I want to bring in Ben Hovland as well, who is the chairman of the U.S. Election Assistance Commission. And I believe when you and I talked the other day, Ben, you've worked with Mr. Krebs. You know him. What's your reaction here to what the President of the United States has just done?
I kind of low-key don't really care what all the rest of these other talking heads have to say. But suffice it to say, that happened. Let's see what else we got going on. Trump orders truth-work walls. Whoa. What is this?
President Trump ordering a drawdown of troops in Iraq and Afghanistan by January the 15th, just 5 days before he's set to leave office. The major military move comes as President Trump and his administration refuse to cooperate and coordinate with the Biden administration's transition team. President-elect Biden receiving a national security briefing today, but not from the current government, not from the ones in charge, instead from former national security officials.
Yikes.
President Trump's new acting defense secretary and national security advisor did not take questions from reporters after the troop announcement.
4 years ago, President Trump ran on a promise to put a stop to America's endless wars. Today, it's just announced at the Pentagon, President Trump is keeping that promise to the American people. Thank
Oh
you very
my
much.
God.
Have a great day.
I don't believe this. Right? How could you not take questions?
Well, it's a good question.
That strikes me as extremely cynical, honestly. It seems like a PR stunt.
Leaving around 5,000 total on the ground. The president's fired Defense Secretary Mark Esper opposed this move directly, called it too soon, dangerous, and opposed by the generals. CNBC's Eamon Javers with us now. We've been
Of course it's
expecting some
opposed
sort
by the
of troop
generals,
announcement,
though.
And here it is.
Yeah, here it is, Shep. You know, it all had kind of an end of an era feel today. At the White House, Robert O'Brien, the national security advisor, said that the remaining troops in Iraq and Afghanistan are going to focus on things like defending U.S. embassies and defending U.S. diplomats, and ignoring the fact now that a new administration is coming to power in the United States in January. He said that President Trump would like to see all of the remaining troops home as soon as May.
Wow.
They'll enable our American
I have
allies
absolutely
in their
no
important
faith
missions
whatsoever
in
that
those
he's actually going
countries.
to do that, but
They'll defend our
or
diplomats.
that that's even possible.
And they'll deter our foes.
Now, just at about the same time he was saying that at the White House in Delaware, Joe Biden was teleconferencing with defense and national security experts about repairing U.S. foreign policy relationships. But in the short section that was opened up for reporters to see, Biden seemed as focused on putting things right here in the United States as well.
We're going to need to reinvigorate our democracy at home, strengthen the coalitions of democracies we stand with, and equip the American people to compete and succeed with a foreign policy that reflects.
Well, okay, so let me pause that because Big Richard Lives Man, you actually just brought up something very important, very, very important that I didn't even think about. So before I wasn't very faithful in the fact that they would do this, but now that I think about it, you saying exactly that, the defense contract opportunities, he's going to do exactly what he said he was going to do when he first got in the offense, which is fucking hit his boy Eric Prince up, holla at your boy Eric Prince, like, yo, let's get Blackwater in there. Or not Blackwater, whatever they're called now. You know what I'm saying? The paramilitary mercenary organization. So, yeah, there you go. Yep, let's get them in there. So not only are we going to continue this war, but now we get to personally profit off of it instead of costing the taxpayer money. Well, I mean, it's still going to cost the taxpayers money, but now they get a personal bag off that, right? That's crazy. I didn't even it struck me as one of those things. Like at first, when I first I guess let me keep playing this. But when I first saw this headline and when I first saw them watch this and watch them announce it, I was just thinking, oh, he's just trying to make trouble for the next man coming up.
Outside advisors, they included Stanley McChrystal, the general who ironically was fired by Barack Obama back in 2010 for his criticism of then Vice President Joe Biden. Also advising Biden today was William McRaven, who oversaw that raid in which U.S. troops killed Osama bin Laden.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC.
Sheesh. So that's pretty nuts. Chuck Grassley tests positive for COVID-19. Yikes. I watched this earlier. I'm sure a lot of other people have seen this, but I don't know if I necessarily. That's kind of low-key old news. Ohio announces a curfew. I was supposed to go visit my grandmother, but I did hear about this. Senior advisors talk Trump out of striking at Iran. That's pretty nuts. Why is the New York Post in here? I don't want to see anything from the New York Post. The New York Post sucks. Let's see what Fox News has going on. What do they got going on? Oh, jeez. Thrilled by the idea of more censorship. I mean, I hate Tucker Carlson. Reverses ridiculous decision to cancel Wreaths Across America. I don't know. I don't even want to know. I don't even know what Wreaths Across America is. I don't want to know. I already feel blood starting to trickle out of my nose just reading these headlines. GA official responds to Lindsey Graham denying he wanted legal ballots tossed. Let's see what this is about.
And to the latest on the recount happening in Georgia at this hour. Joining us now is Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. Sir, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Before we continue with this, I just want to say Fox News and Donald Trump, top 5 anime betrayals of all time.
A little technical error. We've got you back here. And it's important because our viewers need an update on the situation in your state. What can you tell us this morning?
Many of the counties have already finished their audit. As we're going through, most of the counts are very, very close. In Floyd County, they found a memory stick that hadn't been uploaded, and so that added about 800 votes for President Trump.
Okay, and that was a total of 2,600 ballots
memory
that were found on
stick.
that memory stick?
About 2,600, and that he actually picked up 800 votes total in that. And that's why we do audits. It's really verified that every single ballot has been counted.
You know,
This shit is so shady.
For that very reason, we understand that if there wasn't a recount, we might not know that 2,600 votes were not accounted for. Could there be more?
Well, that's why every single county is going through that process. It's very thorough, rigorous.
That's so
process.
worthless,
Every single
though.
paper ballot will be
2,600 worth. Do you understand how minuscule even 5,000 votes
Is
is?
there any sign to you or any evidence that the missing memory stick was deliberate in not getting those votes counted?
No, the county election official, he was out and he assigned a person that was inexperienced for a very critical role, and they messed up. It was human error. It wasn't the machine. And we've asked for his resignation, and so have the county commissioners, as I understand.
Yikes.
The
So
president
someone
is
got fired
asking in a
behind that.
tweet about the signature match, and I know you had a conversation with Senator Lindsey Graham about just that. I'll get to that in a moment, but here's the president's tweet. Georgia won't let us look at the all-important signature match. Without the recount, that is meaningless. Open up unconstitutional consent decree now. First, your response to that before I get to that conversation with Senator Graham.
Well, first off, it was not an unconstitutional consent decree. We still have signature match in Georgia, as we have to have by state law. In
I was
fact,
going to
since
say,
taking
yeah.
office, we've strengthened it for the first time ever with our online absentee portal that we stood up this year.
I was just about to say that. Like, not only is signature match like straight up required, but I'm pretty sure it's like the strongest it's ever been with the technology that we have now. But I'm going to let this man finish.
Now have photo ID with absentee ballots. If you submit a paper application, then you have a signature match. Election officials this year, under my watch, have gone through the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, signature match process for training.
This is obviously a big part of the recount. I'll let you finish in just a moment, but you had a conversation with Lindsey Graham that grabbed a lot of headlines because you went on the record saying
She's not letting him finish. What the hell is this? I hate Fox News.
He was asking you.
She's like
to
completely
throw away
pivoting now.
valid,
She's hitting the segue.
legal ballots.
She's Kanyeing
There
him.
was inconsistencies in
How's he supposed to
signatures,
finish his
in
original
counties
thought?
Where there was high frequency of that. Lindsey Graham responded to that conversation, said, what I'm trying to find out was, how do you verify signatures on mail-in ballots in these states? It seems to me that Georgia has some protections that maybe other states don't have, where you go into the portal to get your ballot. But I thought it was a good conversation, responding to your accusations of him saying, throw out the ballots. I'm surprised to hear he characterized it in that way. Do you stand by suggesting that the senator told you to throw out legal ballots?
Well, I thought he was calling about the senatorial race, and then his question really was about, if ballots could be matched back to the envelope. And I said, once you've done the signature match, we signature match the application, then we signature match the ballots. I felt that he implied that he wanted us to audit the envelopes and then throw out ballots of counties who had the highest frequency error rate of signatures.
Yikes.
And that means you'd be throwing out good ballots with bad ballots. That's, for that, philosophy that he had. At the end of the day, they've been signature match, and that's where
Why
we
do
are.
they? So
The ballots,
even
have been accepted, and those are the ones that are being recounted. It's following the process that we have in state law.
And real quick, last question on the suggestion that some people move to Georgia so that they can influence the elections in January.
Wow.
You're saying that you're seeing that. Let me warn you, anybody attempting to do this, if you illegally participate in our elections, you might be spending more time in Georgia than you planned.
Yikes.
Suggesting the legal repercussions of that. Is that really something that you believe that you're dealing with?
We could be dealing with it, and that's why we put out a warning. Andrew Yang said he
That's-
was planning on moving here with him and his family. And then if people think they can just come in for an election, you have
So hold on, stop. I got to stop this. So it's very bizarre to me that they would focus on something like that, right? And give that airtime, but then completely gloss over. Like, hold on, let me see if I can find this tweet. Yeah. So here's this. Mike Huckabee literally tweeted about filling out absentee ballots for his dead family members, right? To the point where the FEC was like, yo, this is not funny. Why would you joke like this? Right? Stood in rain for hour to early vote today. When I got home, I filled in my stack of mail-in ballots and then voted the ballots of my deceased parents and grandparents. They vote just like me. Trump 2020. See, dude, but we got to spend time now on Andrew Yang talking about how he's going to uproot his entire family to move to Georgia, right? Insane.
specific intent to stay here, stay put down roots, and become a Georgian. Just to come in for an election, then bebop out of here after the election, no. We're going to prosecute that, and we're going to work in concert with our Attorney General. He put out notice to that same effect.
Oh, God.
That would be a voter fraud. And
Attorney
it's
General
severe
Barr,
penalties
of course he was
up to,
down with that. Of course that
$100,000
fucking
fine.
chud was into perfectly 1000% into that. Oh, God. Let's listen to what this Nazi has to say, who just accidentally does Nazi
Now,
salutes.
if a tree falls in a forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, that's the age-old philosophy.
I just I just hate her already. Like, she reminds me of like a teacher, like in elementary school or middle school or something. Like, look at her. She just looks like one of those teachers that just like can't wait to give you detention for raising your hand, asked to go to the bathroom at the wrong time or something, right? Like, jeez, what a terrible person.
Thought experiment about perception and observation. But after this weekend, we can modify it this way. If a Trump march draws tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of peaceful, patriotic people.
Peaceful? Stop. Hold on. Because I got to correct this too. Vox might be a little contentious, so let's go with Forbes. Here's Forbes. There was a stabbing. There was multiple stabbings. There was multiple brawls. This is what she's talking about when she says peaceful. Sounds very peaceful, right?
Charging in here. Let's go, motherfucker!
Yeah, it sounds very peaceful, huh? Extremely peaceful.
Let's go!
And then there's that. I'm going to play it in its entirety. I'm not going to skip around because then it'll make it seem like I'm just like picking and choosing what parts to show. So I'll just play it from start to finish. Yep. Look at all that peace. Look at all that peace that the Proud Boys brought with them to D.C. Look how peaceful it is.
Punches being thrown, people hitting each other with sticks.
Look at this LARPer.
The cops are nowhere to be seen right now.
Of course the cops are nowhere to be seen because they encourage this. Folks at home, have you ever wondered what the opposite of anti-fascism is? It's fascism. Yikes. I'll finish it out. Otherwise, if I end it too soon, someone will say that I ended the video before Jesus descended and personally gave the Proud Boys his blessing. Oh, there go the police to break things up finally. So, okay. So that's what that's what Laura Ingraham is talking about when she's talking about millions or whatever of peaceful protesters. There was a few thousand, and they literally just came here to start fights. So let's continue.
Around to report it. Did it really occur? Well, it was billed as the Million MAGA March. That's more than tens of thousands. And you look at it by the overhead shots, it could be one of the biggest grassroots protests the Capitol has ever seen.
That is false. The biggest grassroots protest the Capitol has ever seen has been this summer for the aftermath of the George Floyd. Like, we just have to cover all of that up. The fact that people were out there for over 150 days protesting, right? To highlight this so that the chuds can pretend like they have the monopoly on the default like social viewpoint and social mindset, right?
A attendees were families, young, old, black, white, Hispanic. They came from.
I know you can't really see from looking at this, but I do not see a terrible many black people in this picture. I know it's kind of grainy. You can't really zoom in, but like trust that there are not a lot of black people in this picture.
Near and far, all to support the America First agenda and to stand with the man who has endured so much in order to lead the movement.
Of course, they find the one black guy.
We need Trump forever. For the very first time I voted. And I voted for Donald J. Trump.
I don't get this. I get that the Kool-Aid has been thoroughly chugged as far as the COVID thing, but in states like North Dakota and stuff, people are dying. Like the equivalent of small towns. You know what I mean? I don't understand. Like, you have relatives that are dead as a direct result of the negligence of the president and his refusal to act on information that he had like a year ago at this point. I knew about COVID in November of 2019. I knew it was probably going to be something serious. I, of course, had no clue that it would be a global pandemic the way that it was. I assumed that it was going to be something very similar to like SARS or swine flu back in the day. But I, of course, don't have the same access to information or power of just the ability to get things done that the president of the United States of America would have or does have. So I wake up every day furious that we're still stuck in the situation that we are now because we have no leadership on the federal level, and all that people care about on the state level is just getting money. That's why all of the COVID restrictions are just complete and total bullshit. It's just everything's closed at 10 o'clock, right? Because the virus is asleep during the day until 10 o'clock, and then it wakes up to eat you, right? And 50% capacity or whatever, because COVID can only materialize when there's only 6 people in a room together, right? Like, don't go out, stay in your homes unless you're spending money. Then you're good. If you're spending money, do you, but only until 10 o'clock, right? Because that's when the COVID will wake up and eat you. Like, it's infuriating, like absolutely enthralling.
And the American people know it, you know, and you can see by the support.
We got to make sure our president get back in that office for 4 more years.
Black men are really very unfortunate. I might do something about black men at a certain point,
And it's
but
likewise reasonable for them to conclude that they don't have much trust.
I'll say this though, it's funny to me, especially look at this picture here. There's one, I guess that dude is black, but out of all of this, come on now. And they like went out of their way to find 2 black people, like black men, because they're the only types of people who are dumb enough to fall for this shit. Like the black men to like, okay, here's the black people to make this shit seem like it's, you know what I mean? Like it's nuts, especially in DC of all places. Like yikes.
Now, pockets, by the way, were even chanting against this news channel for what they perceive as election night bias against
That's
the
funny.
president.
Top 10
Others
animal
were
betrayals.
rightfully
Top 10
outraged that
anime
Team
betrayals.
Networks were even carrying the rally at all. And the ones who did were only interested in insulting the attendees.
The president's supporters, they've poured into the streets of Washington this weekend to try to give life to these unfounded and baseless claims of a rigged election. How did this become normal?
I think with some of these demonstrators, good luck getting a clear or fact-based, logical answer to some of the questions.
I mean, they're speaking facts. They're not going to counter anything that these people are saying. Like, they're talking heads, so they're stupid. But they have no answer for any of the legitimate complaints they have.
Now, remember,
I also
these
hope they get
talking heads are
frostbite.
some of the kind, tolerant, unifying, and loving people that Biden and Harris claim make up their movement.
You literally have a presidential candidate who was endorsed by a grand wizard of the KKK. I really hate how, like, it's infuriating how right-wingers will be like, hey, you guys said you were peaceful and you're really not. And it's like, dog, you fuck with the KKK. You are literal neo-Nazis. You're white supremacists. You just don't admit to it. And it's just like, can't do it.
Well, 7 73 million people voted for President Trump, and it's not too much for them to expect, is it, that the media treat them fairly and respectfully?
No.
Likewise, it's not too much for them to expect that only legal votes will be counted.
If you think that you're out there peacefully and you're just marching for your rights and you think it's unfair that the media are categorizing you as like violent and hateful and destroying property and a threat to America, congratulations. Welcome to your first day as a black person in America.
And that their votes must not be nullified due to fraud. Now, for years now, I've been speaking about this type of honest, hardworking Americans who came to Washington over the weekend.
False.
And throughout this time, the so-called elites in our nation's capital have responded to the legitimate concerns of American citizens with mockery. And
That's infuriating too, because it's like, dog, Donald Trump, first of all, he was an elite before he even ran for president. Donald Trump was, is always, and will continue to be an elite. But even if he wasn't, what do you call the president of the United States of America? Is that not literally the most elite position in the entire country? Like, I can't believe people actually fall for this shit. It's insane.
It's dumbfounding to me that the media and Democrats still don't understand what a stupid strategy it is.
She can't even
to
speak.
alienate and dismiss all of these Americans. I think they're making the same mistake they made back in 2009 and 2010 when the much smaller Tea Party movement started.
Oh, God, those dummies.
Look,
The Tea Party accomplished absolutely nothing.
Very successful private enterprise.
Nobody.
I mean, what was controversial about that? The Tea Party literally made a bunch of people a bunch of money, and that was it.
He knows what they're for. We just know what they are against.
It's not about taxes. This is about hating a black man in the White House.
We call it AstroTurf. It's not really a grassroots movement.
Facts.
Watching certain,
It's not
news channels
grassroots.
on which I'm not very popular. And you see folks waving tea bags around.
They thought that all that condescension would make the movement go away. But it only made the Tea Party stronger. Less than 2 years after those incidents,
I do agree with that.
took control of the House.
That is one
Now, some
bit
of the
I
Tea
do
Party
agree with.
candidates included those little-known people, Kristi Noem,
But
Marco
for a different
Rubio,
reason.
Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Tim Scott, and Mike Lee.
Rand Paul got his ass
the
beat.
GOP took control
Rand
of the
Paul
Senate.
got fucking
2 years
duffed.
after that,
Rand Paul got a fucking 3-piece and a biscuit.
Now, the difference between the Tea Party then and
Rand Paul's
President
neighbor
Trump's
fucked his
movement
world
now
up.
is that this movement.
Hold on, let me just because I just want to continue on. Like Rand Paul, the 2-piece and a soda that his neighbor gave him was a fucking extra large, no ice, no honey, no jelly. Like his neighbor duffed his shit. Rand Paul caught one of the meanest ass whippings of this century. I just needed to say that. I just need to get that off.
About what it wants. The same Trump economic and foreign policy agenda that led to higher wages, fewer wars. And whatever the final electoral college tally is in this election, this movement has a proven track record of success on everything from achieving our energy independence to challenging China to fast-tracking a COVID vaccine to raising family incomes. The results were so impressive that not only did President Trump broaden his coalition among working-class Americans, but he helped grow the party's numbers in the House. When all those vaunted media experts with all their credentials were predicting the opposite. They claimed Trump was going to...
Hold on, stop. Look, Florida, Iowa, California is the one rare one, 2 Californians. But like South Carolina, what, and New York, I guess, is an aberration. But like, these are all pretty historically conservative right-wing states. I feel like a lot of this was galvanized by the fact that we did have a black president, and people like her carried a lot of water to convince right-wingers and Republicans. And that's the other thing, is that Fox News is like this single most damaging piece of propaganda. Like, if you think about how crazed a lot of your friends' parents and a lot of even some of your friends now, because we're getting up to that age, if you're my age, like just how insane and unhinged a lot of the stuff that they parrot from these networks. Like, they just did such a good job convincing people that the sky was on fucking fire after Obama got elected that I'm not surprised that you saw a lot of this, honestly, especially in states like Minnesota. You know what I mean? But we can continue.
The party, remember that? Especially among minorities. Wrong again.
Blacks and Latinos are doing much better under Trump.
I didn't realize that. See, and that's another thing about whites. Like, that's another aspect of white privilege is that you, at any given moment, you are expected to be a spokesperson for your entire demographic of people. Like, you are considered, like, your demographic is considered a monolith in a way that, oh, okay, I can talk to one or two people and this person is going to speak for every single member of his race. Like, that is not something that happens to white people. That is exclusive to blacks, Latinos. Like, you won't, like, obviously I'm not a Trump supporter, and I could actually demonstrate to you why there was active harm done to the black community from Trump's presidency. The people that they're interviewing here are just going to give you platitudes and their fifis, just their feels, right? Like, they just feel like things are better. They can't explain to you why. They have no evidence to support what their opinion is. It just feels good to you know, the meritorial manumission. It feels good to be a part of the group. So, opportunity zones. That is a confused black man. That is very unfortunate. He's talking about gentrification.
Why couldn't the networks find these people to interview? They were there. We found them.
For the same reason you ignore black people who support
That
socialism.
you just saw all those gains are going to be flushed down the toilet. His handlers, who are basically all the old Obama staffers, believe in something called the Great
That is
Reset
false.
of capitalism. I told you about this last week. It's a plan to force a more equitable distribution of global resources. Translation, most Americans will have less freedom and less money, except for the same elites who always find a way around the
That's
rules.
true now.
Like during the lockdown.
It has been true.
But the families of these mini tyrants skirted the restrictions. Just last week, California
Donald
Governor
Trump
Gavin Newsom was dining
literally
with
has been
prohibited
holding
numbers of
rallies.
hotels at that exclusive
This shit is so
restaurant in
dishonest.
French Laundry.
It like
Chicago Mayor
hurts.
Lori
It's
Lightfoot
physically
was caught
painful.
Partying maskless in a massive crowd celebrating Biden's unofficial election win. No problem at all.
Like
Pelosi,
Trump's
well,
rallies?
she was going to have a big congressional soiree until she was shamed into canceling it. The American people are onto these frauds. The MAGA marchers certainly couldn't have been clearer about what COVID lockdowns and restrictions have done to America.
It's like, you know, and what Trump said in the beginning, the cure can't be worse than the disease itself. You know, people, we still need to go on.
Those people like that, these are the people who deserve to get COVID.
People are hurting. You know, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, they all talk about caring about the American people, but you shut this country down for 4 to 6 weeks, and you're going to absolutely, it'll be the final nail in the coffin for a long time.
That's true. That is true. It just sucks that they think that the solution to that is for everybody to get COVID
Aren't listening. Biden loves
instead
to
of
talk about
just
dignity,
getting stimulus from
unity, and respect.
the money that we
But
pay
the
in
time
taxes.
for talk is over, and the time for action is here. Because if Biden really wanted to unite the country, he wouldn't even be entertaining the idea of destroying our current economic recovery with another devastating lockdown or serious.
Hold on. So this is what we got. We got this here. We got all this because of COVID, and now we got this. I don't know if you guys know what a bubble is, or if you understand that this here looks just a little bit different than all the rest of this. Yeah, so like, and then there's that. I just don't know how to explain to you that what she's saying is bullshit.
Degrees of lockdown. If Biden really wanted to unite the country, he would not dismiss the concerns of tens of millions of Americans about mail-in voting. Instead, he'd do something like, I don't know, appoint a bipartisan commission to answer every question about how this election was conducted.
That's what's
and to make
already
certain that we will
being
never
done.
have to wait so
Oh my
long for
God.
an accurate count. And if Joe Biden
Wait so long for an accurate count? Oh my God. Hold on. I am pretty sure that it's perfectly common for the final count for the election to not come until after a period of several weeks, if not months. Yeah, the states each individually have their own cutoff dates for when they can accept and count mail-in ballots. So, like, naturally, as the population grows, it's going to take longer to count votes because all that shit needs to be done by hand, right? So, I don't know what to tell you.
Personally and on camera condemn the BLM and Antifa thugs who beat, kicked, and harassed Trump supporters on Saturday. He has done none of these things.
You already know that it's bullshit. That we've already seen the footage of the Proud Boys coming to fight people. This is like Andy No level dishonest journalism.
The press corps, you know who you are. The pro-Trump throngs didn't show up in D.C. on Saturday because of conservative media, because we told them to. They showed up knowing they could be physically attacked for doing so because they love America.
The police will protect them, though. It's a difference.
Insulting them, ignoring them, will only incite more violence and more resentment and opposition.
That is true, though.
All Americans deserve to be heard, to be seen, and to be safe.
She does not feel that way about black people. Just look at what she said about LeBron James. But anyway, that's my time. I got to run out for a minute. Thanks for watching this. I want to do more stuff like this in the future. I got to figure out a way to do this in a specific format that'll be conducive to what I'm doing now. I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to get my content right, you know. I'm trying to do the things that I feel I want to do, that I believe in doing on this platform in a way that I feel I can really interact with you people. But anyway, I see you all tomorrow. I got kind of a busy day tomorrow, but I'm going to try to pop in and at least get a few games of MK or something in tomorrow.